WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio. Radio.
Standing in line to get my pills that they have told me I need chill. Just like this and you will be fine. Don't lose your mind, SSRI.
Welcome back to the VA, young man up in this session.
Hello.
We'll talk about anxiety, depression, and your regression. Are you unable to cope?
No.
Do you feel like you wanna hurt yourself or others? Do you feel like no hope? No, doc, I feel like I'm on a slippery slope. I don't feel like I'm a human. I don't laugh, I don't cry, I don't joke. Like these meds you got me on make me feel like a junkie on dope. My brain keeps zapping me constantly. It's like I'm fucking having a stroke.
First of all, I want to thank you for your service.
Fucking thank you for the support.
And if you want to hurt yourself or anybody else, we have a place here for you in the hospital. But if not, we have these 10,000 medications for you.
Standing in line to get my pills that they have told me I need chill. Just like this and you will be fine. Don't lose your mind, SSRI. Standing in line to get my pills that they have told me I need chill. Just like this and you will be fine. Don't lose your mind, SSRI.
But doc, my dick don't work. Easy fix, here's Viagra. Plus my guts are hurting, my ass is flowing like Niagara. Well, here's some Fennec and some Tramadol, Xanax, some ambient effects, Abilify and Demerol. Holy shit, dog, goddamn, I think you're trying to kill me. Will you complain about this and that, you fucking feel me? Goddamn, you're fucking evil, now you're just being silly. Hurry up, blow your brains out already, you stupid hillbilly. Quote.
All you combat veterans are just a burden on the U.S. government and the U.S. financial system. All you want is a handout.
Standing in line to get my pills that they have told me I need chill. Just like this and you will be fine. Don't lose your mind, SSRI. Standing in line to get my pills that they have told me I need chill. Just like this and you will be fine. Don't lose your mind, SSRIs.
I know a lot of you might not know about genetic testing, but it helps you find the medication that you need for your genetics. Don't be a guinea pig with this shit. Get your health right.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots. Gotta remember to unmute myself. Hell yeah. All right, everybody, how's it going? I'm just going to press all the buttons. Every single button that I have is going to get pressed right now. All right.
You don't want me doing that.
Welcome, one and all, to Friday Night Freedom. My name is Kaz, and this is WTF Nation Radio. We are the voice of U.S. Army WTF Moments. And we have a special guest tonight. Kind of thrust upon Friday Night Freedom earlier this week. So I'm really happy to welcome Army veteran Leah Day from Veteran Trash Talk. She's going to be on tonight to discuss her new podcast that premieres the day after tomorrow, this Sunday. And it'll be on February 7th. Her focus with her podcast will be to help other female service members and veterans. Let me see. She's got a graphic here. Her goal is to help other female service members and veterans overcome their traumatic experiences. So yeah. Way low on the volume there. All right. Just grooving with this music here.
Oh yeah. Good old funk. Love it. Gets me in the mood, man.
Yeah, you listen to some of the you gave me a link to that Rasputin song.
Oh yeah, the disco.
I love
me some disco, man.
That is some groovy stuff. Yeah, sorry, Branko. I was mashing the wrong buttons. It's been an interesting week for me. I'm a little bit out of sorts. I had my first person, what do you call it? Exposure to the Rona.
Ooh.
And that was it was a little bit scary. So Wednesday I get home. Where's my camera? Wednesday, I worked all day. I got home around 7 p.m. My time, Central Time, and I'm making dinner, and I'm getting some ding dings here. Some ding dings. Oh, it's just some internal talking and some
ding dings.
Some ding dings. Anyway, I got home around 7 p.m., making dinner. I had a full day of work. I was there for about 12 hours and some change. And my phone rings. And I'm like, I don't feel like talking to anybody. I'll call them back. So I'm taking my time. And I'm eating my dinner. And then I look. I get like a voicemail. It actually comes as a text message. So whatever they say, hey, there's someone calling. Hey, WTF Nation Radio, you're on the air. Yeah, I don't hear her either. She's there.
Hello?
She's there, but she's muted. I can see the mute thing.
Oh, I see what it is.
Anyway, so I have text for every voicemail. It's transferred over to text, and they send this really horrible text message, which is like a voice recognition thing, and it's totally horrible. And it was my boss saying, it was weird because earlier in the day, one of the guys that I'm working with says, hey man, is it okay if I take lunch, early? I'm like, yeah, go ahead and take it. Just have a good time to see you whenever you come back. And as he's walking out of the lab, he's like, I need to go get my temperature checked. That's what I'm really worried about. And I'm like, that's odd. It's an odd thing to say. And earlier this week, we had one of our mechanics who works in a different section of our lab. He actually tested positive for Rona, so he's been out. So I get home, and this message comes in, and it's my boss saying, hey, we need to talk. The guy you're working with wasn't feeling well at lunchtime, so he left work, and he went and got a Rona test, a rapid Rona test, and he came back positive.
Oh, no.
So immediately my security badge gets, once he informs HR and health services, my badge gets, I get locked out. I can't even get into the parking lot. So I'm freaking out. I'm not freaking out. I'm concerned. I'm like, cause every little itch, every time I cough or sneeze, I'm just like, oh, is this it? This is the end, so I'm freaking out. I put on my mask and I went to the store and I bought every soup that was on that freaking soup aisle, and all like mashed potatoes and things that are super, super easy. They don't take a lot of effort to make, so bags of chips, just stuff to keep me sustained. Cause I understand that when you get the Rona, if you get the Rona, you're just super fatigued and you don't feel like doing anything. So I prepared for that. I bought all kinds of Mucinex and NyQuil, Dayquil, everything.
You got zinc. You gotta get the zinc. I hear zinc is good for
I got zinc and I got vitamin D gummies. I just went there. I knew exactly what I needed. I went there, got it, and left. And
what's if you don't mind me asking, what's your blood type?
B positive.
Ooh, okay, yeah, because I was hearing that the O positive or the O strain or whatever they call it is like more resistant to they don't get the side effects as other blood types do. So
anyway, I've been off, and there was a question to whether do I have to use my vacation? Do I have to use my sick time? And I talked to my boss, and he's like, "Well, let me ask the question." I'm the first guy that's had a first person exposure to the Rona that was work related. It's not like I was out partying or going to bars and all this other stuff. And I ended up testing positive. This is one of those exposures that happened at work, so there's a special charge number for that. So if I was out for 3 days or if I was out for 10 or 20 days, I still maintain my paycheck, which is really
that's legit.
Which is really
legit.
Freaking cool. And
that's good that they're taking care of you for that.
Yeah.
But what's the quarantine period for you before you have to get tested?
Well, it's 10 days. Here's what was going to happen. He tested positive on Wednesday, so immediately I go to CVS, put in my personal information and requested a Rona test. So like Thursday morning at like 10 o'clock, I had a slot to go and get tested, and then here I'm thinking, I'm like, this really doesn't make sense. I should probably not get tested, if at all, get tested either if I come down with some kind of symptoms, or give it a week and then get tested, because there's some kind of an incubation period. They say 2 to 14 days. So I figured a week would be a good time to do that.
Get yourself tested.
But then at the same time, the guy that exposed me, he had a rapid test, and his rapid test came back positive, and he did the right thing. He informed our chain of command. And then they passed it down and everything. But he also right after he got his positive test, they took one of those the Rona test that takes 3 to 5 days. He got one of those, so I should hear back probably tomorrow or Sunday, whether he is legitimately positive or not, because the COVID rapid tests are notoriously false positives, which is why I don't have because it gets thrown into the statistics. If you have a corona test and you test positive, it goes into the positive statistics pile. It doesn't matter if it's a false positive, and it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you go and you get the actual more in-depth test and it comes back negative. They don't say, okay, this is a negative test and we're going to take away one of those.
Is a positive is the way they treat it. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that the way they've been doing it, but I guess it's just boost numbers scare people.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's I don't know. So anyway, that's that. So actually, I've been kind of not freaking out, but I'm just overly concerned. Everything that happens, that my body feels, my back hurts, my shoulder hurts, just like you're doing. I'm like, oh well, body aches are a symptom. Shit. Or if I'm sleeping,
my body aches all the time.
Or if I'm sleeping and I was like, oh crap, I had a bad dream. Our nightmares are part of the symptoms, and I'm just I wake up with a stuffy nose, and I don't consider it could be cedar fever, which is what's going on in Texas right now, among other places. But cedar, all the mountain cedar is in the air right now, and people who have allergies are suffering mightily. So it's just every little thing is just like, oh, there it is. How much time until I really start feeling awful and don't want to even take a shower anymore? So that's been my week. But I've had an interesting week. I've had some days off, hopefully. So anyway, if he comes back positive, as long as I stay asymptomatic, I can go back to work in 10 days. But health, I've talked to our health. We have a health services department and then HR. So HR and health services need to get together, and then they've been calling me every single day, giving me just a status of, hey, this other guy, his test results haven't come back. Until further notice or unless otherwise directed, you're to stay quarantined. And my company's just they're so super good with the way that this is happening. I'm pleased at the way that things are going, and I'm still getting paid. So there's that.
Oh, that's the only thing that really matters at that point.
Right, and
I time to work around some things in the house.
ever since this Rona stuff started happening, I'm like, okay, I need to prepare myself for being out of work for a month. Let's say I get sick, I'll probably be down for a month, maybe more. So I've just been like shoveling cash into savings, just stick it in there and forget about it. You get a stimulus check, it goes into savings. Just saving everything, just because I don't know, and so I'm prepared for this shortcoming.
I know a lot of people have been saving.
Did you see what Tina,
exactly for that?
Did you see what Tina Ramos said? She goes, "Okay, hear me out. The Army gets rid of PT belts, and then there's this global pandemic. Coincidence?"
Oh, that's a good theory. Where's Alex Jones when we need him?
We were listening to some Alex Jones earlier, but before the broadcast.
Try to test my dumb ass can't figure out how to click buttons. So yeah.
Hey, let's before we start giving out like stories and whatnot. We lost a warrior this week. It's sad, but it's not. This dude's a badass. Harry Beale. America lost his first Navy SEAL this week. Actually, it was last week, but this week. Harry Beale died at 90 years old. A Greenville Township resident, was the first SEAL to be appointed by John F. Kennedy in 1962. His son, Mac, remembered Beale to be a true hero. He says, quote, "In my opinion, they are all real superheroes," he said, of the military personnel that he saw as a child on base. "Most kids go to comic book stores to see superheroes. I just had to walk out on base." Which is pretty badass. Harry's obituary says Harry Beale joined the United States. He was born in 1930. He joined the Navy in 1948, and he first served aboard the USS Shenandoah as a gunner's mate. He joined the Underwater Demolition Team, the UDTs, the precursor to the Navy SEALs, in 1955, when the first Navy SEAL team was established in 1962. Beale was the first to volunteer for the Elite Special Operations Force. Later, Beale was credited with pulling John Glenn out of the water after his historic space flight. He became a SEAL instructor, serving until his retirement from the United States Navy in 1968. Beale later worked for the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for 20 years until his retirement from that venture in 1990. In 2020, last year, a bridge was named after Beale in his hometown of Myersdale, Pennsylvania. So there's a badass right there. You want to see what a badass looks like? Look at that picture.
That screams like Frogman.
Rest in peace, Harry. And even his son, there's an article. He says even when he was growing up, he would try to get stories out of his grandfather, out of Harry. And he wouldn't say anything. He goes, "What I did is classified. I can't tell you." And he was 90 years old. He did shit back in the 60s, and he never told any of his stories. Which is it's kind of crazy and sad at the same time, because that's like information that's like lost now forever, pretty much. But there's a reason behind it. I understand security and stuff like that. But I wonder if he kept a journal or something. A journal, yeah, that would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, sad to see good people getting lost like that. Yeah, he said, he died happy. He was just, everything was just, he lost his wife a couple of years ago, and he kind of went downhill after that. And that's, just seeing the way he's sitting in that chair, older, I knew, you could tell he's a badass. There's some pictures, some pictures of him that are he's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, he's like the epitome of a James Bond kind of guy, like walking around with some scotch and a cigar, not giving a crap about anything. That's what I'm getting from the pictures here. But I can do a super unprofessional thing. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I was going to swap out one of the pictures for another picture of him just kind of looking like a badass, but I'm not going to do that because we are professionals here at WTF Nation Radio.
Yes, we were very professional until the gremlins attacked, and then I shouldn't have said nothing. But
Yeah, like last week, man, we were having a really great show, and then right before we closed out the show, my freaking computer turned off.
The Friday night gremlins always attack.
I know.
I think we got it out early tonight.
I'm very happy to deal with early onset gremlinification, if that's a word.
I do believe in gremlins though.
But I mean, all the other shows, I mean, are pretty error free. I don't want to jinx anything, but I mean, ICE had a freaking awesome show last night with the two colonels from PsyOps or PsyOp.
Zap guys.
PsyOp. No S. No S.
PsyOp.
So I'm behind the scenes. I'm throwing questions at ICE, like, are there leaflets printed on recyclable paper and stuff?
I always used to say the best psychological warfare would be just to collect a whole bunch of random thumb drives and fill them with just tons and tons of death by PowerPoint, useless death by PowerPoint, like how not to get struck by lightning, the stupid shit that they make the soldiers sit through, for like some weird mandatory training, and just riddle an entire nation with that crap, and they would probably give up at that point.
Yeah, and then when a real thumb drive with real information, they're like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, they'd be like,
that.
"What's this bull crap?" This is death by PowerPoint. Was it disinformation from an abundance of information?
Right. I liked it. I understand very, very little from the PsyOp side of the house. My daughter, when she was on ROTC, was approached and a bug was put in her ear, and she was interested in going into the PsyOp community, which has been a long road. I mean, you still gotta you gotta pass all your college classes and become an officer, and then take the path from that time. She wanted to be a pilot, so she was going to be a pilot and then transfer into, and then apply to be evaluated for her fit for a PsyOp job, but that's all.
That'd be cool. She's been flying around playing music, like Flight of the Valkyries or something like that, like you see in the movies.
Fortunate son. This
is a Desert Storm. Why are they playing Vietnam music?
So we've got 10 pounds of C4 missing. Who's got it? Raise your hands. Who's got the C4? Are there any? I think some Marines kind of raided the stash because they were getting hungry, but there's probably a couple of opinions.
Oh, that's just spicy Play-Doh for them, man.
Spicy Play-Doh, exactly. So 10 pounds of C4 have gone missing from Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center in 29 Palms, California. These explosives, quote, disappeared during a long training exercise 2 weeks ago, and they are believed to be stolen. According to news reports, the unit's commanding officer is, quote, considering extending the training exercise until the explosives are found. That sucks. You're staying in the field until we find this.
Sucks to suck, nerd.
This is worse than losing an NVG. Imagine how much damage you can do with 10 pounds of C4. You get probably less.
I know what a quarter pound of C4 can do. Just 10 pounds is insane.
I was going to say, if you get less than a pound, can destroy a car.
Yeah, that's just crazy though. How do you lose? You know what? I guarantee you what it was like, we need to get rid of this, but we don't have a blasting cap, so just stuff it somewhere and say we set it off.
Shoot it.
Now, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's ammo floating around at some of the ranges that's buried underground somewhere because someone didn't want to take the time to fire it. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I remember they would do controlled detonations when I was in Kirkuk, and they would actually announce it. I mean, I guess they would accumulate all their IEDs that they found or mortars that were unexploded or whatever that they wanted to destroy, and like once a month or so they'd do a controlled det. And that was pretty awesome. That was damn awesome.
Yeah, it was in an MLRS unit, and if any of the telephone poles didn't blow up like they were supposed to or do what they were supposed to, they would take them out and blow them up. It was pretty cool to watch.
I was reading a book. I think it was Rogue Warrior, or it might have been Red Cell. But Rick Marcinko was talking about C4. He goes, it's stable. It's ultra stable. You can light it on fire. He says,
you can light it on fire and cook with it.
You can light it on fire and cook with it. Just don't put out the fire with your foot. Don't stomp it out.
Don't stomp it. Let's throw some water on it.
Marine Captain Zachary Colvin is a spokesperson for 29 Palms. Told Marine Corps Times Thursday that the Marine Corps is unable to comment on the situation because the NCIS has taken over the case. Colvin said the base is currently not on lockdown despite the missing explosives. I thought that was weird, but after reading into it, the reason it's not locked down is because there were the units that were out training at 29 Palms were from Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point.
Also, they're so far away that at that point they're pretty much already on lockdown. So,
well, the thing is, there were no 29 Palms Marines attached to like directly support those
in the
guys
field.
So it's like they weren't there. They weren't involved, so they didn't lock down the base.
That's one of them things where you're going to see some like young private walking around, and about 10 minutes later, he's going to come back with it and be like, look what I just found. Where was it? Oh, it's just kind of chilling.
Right there. It fell out the back of a truck or whatever.
It's just chilling. I found it.
I'm gonna scour the Craigslist in the 29 Palms area and see if there's anybody's got the spicy Play-Doh for sale.
Spicy Play-Doh. No, stuff's crazy. Don't play with that stuff, kids.
So
that's no comp B, but it's still boomy.
So after I read that story, I've been paying attention to that for the last couple of days. It's just funny that we're just now learning about this, but it happened 2 weeks ago.
That's interesting. Well, that's actually probably a good thing, because you don't want to actually to come out and be like, hey, it's public. Oh, we're missing 10 pounds of C4. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to say, hey, 10 minutes ago we just during an inventory. How did they figure out what was missing? It was probably, you would think that it would be guarded pretty closely.
They probably treat that stuff like, I don't know, man. They were handing that crap out like crazy in Iraq, but I don't know. It's probably like a controlled list, like something like they do with like the pharmaceuticals, with the pills and stuff. We've got one of every one of these pills. We have to keep track of all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you got to be right. And this is what they've caught. What haven't they caught?
Well, I mean, you see it all the time. The idiots get on Craigslist trying to sell like AT4s and,
right.
MREs and crazy shit that they've stolen, like idiots.
So along the same string of news stories with this C4 thing was some news from Customs and Border Protection. And we got this from Arizona's Border Patrol, who have been on our show or our station. I think, did we do it? I think that was a Me and Owl interview.
It might have been. I don't remember doing it.
But anyway, the Iranians had some Iranians got nabbed at the border. Border Patrol agents arrested 11 Iranians this week after they snuck across the border into Arizona. 5 women and 6 men were traveling in a group, and they were nabbed at a bridge near San Luis, a border crossing point. Agents said the group had just crossed the border. Iran is a special interest company. I can't imagine why. They're a special interest country for border apprehensions because of its nexus to terrorism, though that there was no mention of those concerns related to this group in particular. Still, the 11 arrests pushed the number of Iranians nabbed at the Yuma sector since October 1st to 14. So there's been 14 Iranians nabbed at the border since October 1st of 2020.
Crazy. You think it'd be just easier for them to try to come in through Canada at that point?
Right. Or, fly in. You can always get your, if you are having a nefarious intent You're probably, state sponsored and you can, forge a passport and forge identities and all that super spooky shit that
no one wants to talk about, but it's
intelligence
happening.
agencies do. Just that's their daily thing.
Yeah, but apparently, we don't need immigration services at the border and border patrol because that's just
How crazy is that? I mean, Biden's just like, yeah, we're gonna stop funding. He said we're gonna stop funding for the wall, but he didn't say anything about tearing down what's existing because it's working.
I had a big question about that when he did
working.
that.
The wall is working.
Yeah, but okay, there was contracts placed, right? So I understand the way contracts work. It's all right, I'm building it. Here's the money, build it. But if you come in and say stop building, well, I was supposed to get paid for this. This is breach of contract. Are they just gonna pay these companies the money and just say don't build it? And then what's the? I mean,
I would like to see
the purpose.
I would like to see the
it.
details on that contract, though. It would seem to me that, if I'm paying a contractor to do work for me and then I just pull the rug out from under him, I'm going to end up having to pay him at least, 80% of the total.
Percentage or something. And at that point, then why cancel the building at that point? Just build it, forget it. No new future contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know they were building up until a couple days till he signed that executive order, like almost up to the minute they were trying to build stuff. I heard all kinds of stories about that. But,
so how many executive orders are we up to now? Do you know?
Oh no! Last time I was on, it was like 41 or something like that.
We were at 40 last week. Let me see if I can check.
You need to start a little ticker down at the bottom,
right?
Instead of the stock market, we could just keep track of how many executive orders get signed this year.
Let's see. Biden executive order count. Someone's got to have this up. That's
surprised it's on a website yet. Huh?
Right. That's 3 days. 3 days ago is 2 days ago. Biden executive order breakdown from the Washington Post. What does he? Oh gosh, I hate this.
Isn't the Washington Post owned by Jeff Bezos?
I have no idea. I heard he's going to be not looking for a job, but he's quitting Amazon.
No, he's stepping down. But I think one of his other side projects is the Washington Post. I think he owns it completely. Because I know everyone was busting his balls, but he stepped down because he wanted to focus more on like his little side baby projects, like Day One, which is like dealing with homelessness. I think it's Blue Horizons, which is a space program, kind of like Elon Musk, Daddy Musk. He has a whole bunch of little philanthropy things going on, all the rich guys do when they get to a certain point. I'm the richest man in the world. Oh, okay, let's, do this.
Imagine how much work can get done if everything got funneled and the scope was narrowed, rather than having such a competitive field as far as space exploration. And you've got all these different, damn, Tina, you're a badass.
There you go. We got hire her.
You need a job, Tina? All right, let me see if I can do this. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Ugh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh,
9,
I
10.
can't access .gov websites because I'm behind a VPN. Oh.
4. Let's see, 13,985 to 13,985 to 14,012. He's got it. I mean, he's already set the record. So Spanky just posted. just posted
that out. Yeah. We're recruiting. All you got to do is say, taxation is theft. You'll be all right.
Taxation is theft over and over and over again.
Oh, I did it. I got it off my chest tonight, so we good. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, the last time I think I saw it was at 41 or something crazy like that. And what's that whole? They say judge the president in the first 100 days, and we're not even into a whole month yet, or almost at a month. Is it almost at a month yet?
Well,
he was what, the 20th? What's it?
January 6th. January 6th. So we're one day short of a month.
So in a month, he signed more executive orders than there were days.
Well, according to the Federal Register, it looks like it's 27. And that's just doing the math, 13,985 subtracted from the total of 14012. But it's more than that. But it's more than that. I mean, because everyone, like last week, he was up to 40. Maybe it's just things that he's intended or he's spoken his intent.
I don't know. I mean, it's just great. It's literally crazy how a man can come in and be like not even a couple of months beforehand. So you can't roll with executive order and turn around and do exactly what he said he wasn't going to do. But then, he said, "Oh, I'm not going after fracking." That's crazy. Well, I don't think he said that, but I think it was one of the news outlets were saying, "Oh, get over it. He's not going to go after fracking." And what happened? Keystone Pipeline. I mean, he's not really making the Canadians too happy right now. I think that's what I've been reading in the news. The Canadians aren't really happy with him right now.
No. The even the what's his nuts that Trudeau says he's like I really hope he gets his head on straight. Pretty much. He's like, I'm very disappointed. Very, very politically correct and very diplomatically said, I hope he pulls his head out of his ass.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said it in a Canadian way, like. But I was even reading an article, something along the lines of like, since pretty much all of Canadians' allies have been just focused on themselves at this point with this coronavirus vaccine thing going on. That Canada was like, we ain't getting crap or help from anyone, so screw you all. We'll make our own vaccines for ourselves at that point. Huh?
And they have.
And it's like,
they're doing okay. They're not doing too poorly. I think I don't know. We're a very open society, even though some states like New York and Michigan and Oregon, was Washington and California. They're kind of. They got the claws into their people. Here in Texas, it's just another day, man. There's nothing big, and you're over on the East Coast in one of the freer states, and you're doing fine.
So much. I mean, my governor is one of them good old boys, so that's all I got to say about it. He even talks like it.
What does that mean? One of the good old boys.
He's a good old boy, like good old country boy. He talks like Colonel Sanders, and we're going to do this. And apparently, like after 10 p.m., that's the only time that the coronavirus comes out and attacks you. So you can't be in a bar after 10. And there's a whole bunch of restaurant restrictions there for a while. It was draconian, but not to the point where we had like a Pennsylvania or Michigan incident here. But we're still in like what day? Like 6,000 of the 30-day curve thing. So.
Something. Yeah, we're almost at the year mark. We're about a month short of the year mark. When did the lockdowns were around mid-March, right after spring break. That's when the forever spring break started.
So I always get on like the media for saying like, hey, like they're like Donald Trump did such a poor job with this virus and this and that. And I think he did exactly all he needed to do. Was he's like, hey guys, there's this thing called the 10th Amendment, and you guys take care of it on your own. Let the states figure this out.
Yeah, it's a states' rights issue, man. I mean, handle your shit.
Handle your shit. But from what I've seen, states that had the most draconian lockdowns had the worst economic impact and actually worse cases, which kind of blows my mind. I don't know how that works, but
Texas is way up there. Texas is super way up there as far as cases.
I mean, base it off of population. Just base it off of population. Everyone's like, California is so bad. Oh, I was like, California is like what, like 140 million people living in California or something like that.
They're
crazy
huge.
Like that.
They're huge.
It's like half the U.S. population on one side. I'm surprised the U.S. don't capsize because of it.
Yeah,
little inside joke.
Texas, I think that's the third most populous state. Houston is definitely the third largest city in the United States.
Is it third now? I thought for when I was living there, it was fourth. I think like right behind Chicago. But if it's third now, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like L.A., Chicago, or L.A., New York, or New York, L.A., Houston, then Chicago. I think.
Houston is a massive city. People.
I've flown there. I've never driven through there, and I've always heard horror stories. I know flying into Hobby, Houston Hobby. It's just you just see the sprawl, just the urban sprawl. It's just so much land.
They didn't build up. They built out.
Yeah.
Because it's built on a swamp. So I mean, it literally take you like 3.5 hours to drive from one side of Houston to the next. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to go from let's see, from West Fort Worth all the way to Dallas is a good 30 miles or so, and it'll take you an hour. Yeah,
that was Dallas.
45 minutes to an hour. I hate driving here, but I mean, there's worse places. There's worse places. I mean, I don't have to deal with California.
I still want to move to Austin, but I don't know now.
Me too. I really enjoy Austin. It's, keep Austin weird, but it's just a really cool town. But dude, it's being overrun by.
It's turned into the Portland of
people that are not of my political persuasion. How about that? Then I have a sister-in-law, my brother's wife. They're getting ready to retire, and they're traveling every year. They do a trip, and they go to a city where they want to, where they're considering retiring. And they came and visited me, and then they're like, okay, we're going to drive down to Austin. I'm like, Austin is a perfect place for you. And she said, why do you say that? I said, because, you have liberal views, super liberal views, and I think you would fit in nicely. You have liberal views, but you have a head on your shoulders. So I think Austin would be a good fit for her. My brother is very apolitical. He's a detective, but they're smart folks. But he doesn't play the politics game. He doesn't get on that.
You know me, I'm in the middle of everything.
Right. I don't think Biden's going to
leave people alone. Do your thing. Don't sink my boat. I won't sink yours. That's my political.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Biden's going to light the world on fire or anything. Just like I don't think that Trump was going to light the world on fire. He kind of he did a lot of good stuff. A lot of I don't want to say fucked up stuff, but he got shit done. He ran our country like a business, and he made it better in some cases. And he kind of took us off the global standing. Like, hey, do we respect everyone? Years and years ago, everyone would look at America like, oh, America's great. It doesn't matter if you agreed with their politics or not. It's just America was great. And now, if you pay attention to the media, we suck, and it's better to live somewhere else.
So much better in all these other places.
Ken Hamlin wrote a book. It's called Pick a Better Country, and it's a really, really good, really good book. I mean, being the most destitute person in the United States, you're still better off than living in some third world country. Is basically what the book.
So start my own little island, and it'll be the best country in the world. Yes,
Pookie Island.
Pookitopia, just my economy is based off Dogecoin, no taxes, and that's the gist of it,
Yeah, Veteran Trash Talk. Welcome to the show. I've seen you up there posting.
Yep.
You said everyone loves California. That's why you have so many people living in tents. They just haven't found houses yet.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, they haven't found housing yet.
Everything's so overpriced, man. They've got shithole houses there that are selling for $500,000.
San Francisco's so bad because of those stupid what do they call them, townhomes or whatever it is, and just to develop. I knew a developer, and he even said, he's like, I used to build California, but no, I moved my entire business out because it was just the code and all the regulations and stuff. By the time you would get the job done, it'd be so over budget because of time schedules, restraints, and stuff like that. He's like, it's not even worth my time to even develop there anymore.
Yeah, it's just I don't know why. I mean, there's industry out there that is succeeding mightily, and it always crosses my mind how much more successful would they be if they were headquartered in states that were more business friendly, like Florida or Texas or Arizona or something like that. And now you're seeing this exodus of companies. Tesla
Tesla, HP went back to Texas.
Yeah.
There's a couple that were talking about it. My brain's not even working right now. But I mean, yeah, I don't know if you saw them talking about an exodus tax, which kind of had to be cracked up a little
if
bit.
you want to, we're not going to stop you from going, but if you're going to go, it's going to cost you, whatever.
It's like 5 years of income tax. You still have to pay even when, like, okay, good luck getting me to pay that crap. What are you going to do? Impound and take my home from me when I'm in a foreign state?
Or what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Arrest me and bring me back to California?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see how that flies. I have the Supreme Court all over that shit. Huh?
So I've got a NASA story that I want to get to. 15 minutes left until the break, and this may take that long. I don't know. It's a really cool little video that I'm playing here, which is an animation provided by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, University of California. The NASA Perseverance rover is currently hurtling through space at approximately 20 million miles away from their destination, which is Mars. NASA's Perseverance rover will soon make the most difficult landing ever attempted on Mars before it begins its hunt for ancient life. When it arrives on February 18th, Perseverance will enter Mars' atmosphere at over 12,000 miles per hour, streaking across the Martian sky like a meteor. For 7 nail-biting minutes before touching down at the Jezero crater, a site that the Curiosity rover was technologically incapable of reaching. NASA scientists call it 7 minutes of terror. The rover must survive both intense heat comparable to the sun's surface and deceleration as it descends, while also trying to land in the correct place. A parachute 70 feet in diameter will help it slow down as it attempts to find its way to the crater. The rover must survive both intense heat. Oops, wrong line. Then a sky crane, which was used by Curiosity, will allow Perseverance to lower itself onto the surface. When the rover finally lands, it will touch down on its wheels and at a speed slower than humans can walk. Perseverance has to do this all on its own. It takes radio signals to control this aircraft, but I guess some script kiddies have written some awesome scripts. So
the AI is legit.
They can't control it from NASA here on this planet because it takes 11 minutes or more to get back to
that's
a
crazy.
message to. So it'd be kind of
all you can really do is update code at that point. Huh?
Yeah.
Stand by for update, and then it sits there and waits for the update, pretty much.
Yeah,
that's
right.
about it. Huh?
NASA chose the Jezero crater as the landing site because scientists believe, based on orbital photographs of the region, it was once filled with water, and it is home to an ancient river delta. The water is long gone, but the lake bed deposits made in the crater are an ideal place to investigate for signs of ancient life. The crater is filled with steep cliffs, sand, boulders, and impact craters, all of which make the landing very difficult. When Perseverance touches down, it must also do so near the remnants of the delta, where traces of microbial organisms have settled. Jezero Crater is a great place, a magnificent place for science, but when I look at it from a landing perspective, all I see is danger, one of the scientists says. It is a very formidable challenge. The Perseverance rover, which launched in July, is the biggest vehicle NASA has ever attempted to land on Mars, weighing over a metric ton and carrying 50% more science and technology packages than Curiosity, which landed in 2012. 2 new technologies will help Perseverance land safely. A range trigger, which allows the rover to decide when to deploy the parachute, and a terrain relative navigation, which essentially gives rovers eyes and a map so it can check to make sure it lands in the right place. If it wasn't for this range trigger and terrain relative navigation, we could not go to the Jezero crater. Perseverance is carrying a ton of cool new technology, including a tiny helicopter named Ingenuity. It's going to be the first helicopter on Mars.
It's like what, a little drone or something? Oh, I see it there. Okay, yeah. That's nuts. Yeah.
And it has all the necessary instruments to collect samples for future study on Earth. For the first time, we will also be able to hear what it is like to land on another planet, thanks to a camera and a microphone system. I'm super excited about this landing.
Cool.
In February 18th. What day is that? Is that today is February 18th is Thursday. So during Sergeant's time in 2 weeks, the spacecraft will, the rover, the Perseverance, will land on Mars. That's awesome, dude. Maybe we can talk about it that Friday. Hopefully things go well. No shipwreck. Shipwreck's asking me if I'm going to be the pilot. No, sir, I'm not going to be the pilot. I've got a show to do that Friday. I can't go to Mars. I got that.
You would be able to pilot it anyways, unless you can see 20 minutes into the future. So.
Yeah, I got a show to do Friday on the 19th, so I can't go.
What was it? I know. Speaking of space, since we're on the space topic, I think they launched more Starlink into the atmosphere, low orbit satellites.
I looked up Starlink. It's just there's so much crap up in space. And then Starlink is up there.
It's nuts how much stuff is in space.
It's like, aliens can't come and visit us because they're gonna hit something.
That's what they call that. It's not Kepler syndrome, Kestrel syndrome or something like that, where like you just have so much space debris that you can't leave the planet anymore.
We're screwed. We're gonna find a habitable planet that everybody could go to, and it's gonna be just like Earth, but we can't get out. So we're gonna die here.
Well, I don't know. The Starlink actually has me a little bit excited for people out in the rural areas. I've been seeing some of the beta tests of it. And it's just amazing that like how fast it is. Mm-hmm. But I'm all about the SpaceX. SpaceX is like the new NASA to me. So it's one of them things I like to follow.
Last week,
I like listening to Elon Musk on Twitter because he says some of the craziest shit. But
last week we talked about, if only briefly, just talking about Starlink. And Starlink is not up as a business yet. It is, but it's a total in-house thing. Elon Musk is running that, and questions were asked.
It's not IPO yet, I think.
It's not IPO yet. He's not even looking at it. It's not. He's not even looking at it at an IPO yet. He says he's looking at the viability of the company once Starlink is up as a business. And they're talking. He says right now it's looking like. That people are going to have to buy around $500 in equipment to mount on their house, and then about $100 a month to pay for their internet access.
It's not. If you think about it, it's not bad because I don't know if you've ever been in a rural area. They got these things like HughesNet and Exceed and stuff like that. The data caps and the latency is just the same, but what you pay is almost $300 a month just to get internet, really crappy internet. So to me, that's a steal at that point.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, how poorly is it affected by weather? Like let's say you have a storm blow through, is that going to knock out everything? I don't have to worry about that. All my lines are underground.
You got the hard lines. Yeah, but like people like living out in BFE don't have that.
That's true. That means you can drive through Montana, which I do periodically, and I don't have to. I will never lose my signal. I'll never lose anything. But do I have to buy $500 more of equipment for my car?
Well, no. Actually, what they're talking about doing right now, they've got it limited per what they call it, constellation. I think is what they call it. But it's limited per constellation, certain zones. But what they're planning on doing is opening it up to where, like, say, if you're one of those like couples or people that like to RV all over U.S., you could bring your Starlink equipment with you, and when you stop to wherever you're at, you just slap the satellite receiver, the dish receiver on, and it's automatic, like
it'd be automatic. I was like, shit. They might have to learn how to read a compass or something.
No, not even that. You just set it down, and the system starts detecting, like where it starts doing this. It finds signal, and then it acquires, and boom. And at any given time, you have a direct line to 3 of the Starlink satellites.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting system. But we can sit here and talk about it for like an hour.
Can you see those from the Earth?
Yes.
Unaided?
Well. I had a buddy of mine. This is when I lived out in Florida. My roommate, and he comes in early in the morning after work because he worked at the golf course. They do their work at 4 o'clock in the morning till about 1 because of the heat. Right. But he come in, he's like, "I seen aliens, I seen UFOs." He's freaking out, and I was like, "Yeah, cool. Can you draw it out on a picture for me?" And he drew it out, and I was like, "Yeah, you saw a Starlink constellation." He was like, "What?" I was like, "Well, they're just perfectly in line."
Yeah, just like a strip of satellites.
Well, a lot of astronomers are complaining about it because now they're taking, like deep exposure, long exposure pictures to get like good crisp space shots.
Yeah, and they get this line in the middle of their photograph.
And lines running through it from the constellations. So I mean, it's crazy. But you can look up in the sky sometimes and see it. I seen it here in South Carolina. One night I looked up, I was like, oh look, a Starlink constellation.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back to Montana because you can just see they have noise pollution ordinances, which is really pretty cool because it's extremely, extremely dark. When the sun goes down, dude, it is dark, and you can see lots of stars and stuff. It's very awesome. Oh wow.
Yeah, she sent a little picture there of what the lines look like, kind of.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know the big difference between Starlink and traditional communication satellites is something about like about 2,000 miles from the planet.
Ooh.
Traditional ones are way out there. It causes a lot of latency.
They're really it's like super low Earth orbit.
250 miles about.
Well, I think we need to put some Space Force crew. Space Force. Some Space Force crew up there to maintain these satellites. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we need the interwebs. Lock my interwebs out. I'm gonna get mad.
Oh, what time is it? What time is it? We're getting close.
Yeah,
we're getting close. Awesome. We're gonna have Leah Day is gonna come on right now. As a matter of fact, I think we'll take a break. Take a break and hit the head, go to the refrigerator, grab another adult beverage or whatever beverage you choose to be consuming tonight, because Leah Day from Veteran Trash Talk is going to be on tonight, like right now, to discuss her new podcast that launches on Sunday. This really, I don't know. We'll talk to her about it. I've got some concerns. They're not real concerns, but they're. That's okay. We're going to talk to Leah in just a couple of minutes. So we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back in, math. That's 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 minutes-ish. So come on back in 7 minutes, and then or hang out and enjoy the new song by Another Round or another song that we have from Roses Unread. We'll be back in just a couple minutes later. Shots.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Paint a imagine laughter, serving out my sentence, waiting for the rapture. Nothing good will come, 'cause our poison word is pure. Just a nobody who will never find a cure. I can't reason with myself. I'll never make it back. The past is in the rearview. I'm always losing track. Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go as you disappear?
This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey, Mia, you better hide your baby, or you better hide that big-ass forehead.
All right, everybody. We're back with hour number 2 of Friday Night Freedom. My name is Kaz. This is WTF Nation Radio, and guess what? We've got Leah. Leah Day from Veterans Trash Talk is going to be here to talk about, or is here to talk about her new podcast, which is going to launch on Sunday. And this is I want to welcome you to the show, Leah. Thank you very much for being here. But I've got a concern about your podcast.
What is it, Cause?
You're competing with the Super Bowl.
Oh,
well, no, I guess you're going to be earlier than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that is true. And the thing is with the new podcast, it's going to be there. It's evergreen, so people can listen to it anyway.
Great.
They can do after Super Bowl. They can do pregame, listen to it. So
right. Do you do your stuff live?
I don't. So I have a couple of recorded already.
Okay.
So I like to talk to my guests prior to, and then we do the interview, and then that way we're all set when it's time to go. So thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh, no problem. No problem. So Leah is here. She's a 13-year combat vet?
Yes, sir.
United States Army?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your service.
Oh, man. So, it was one of those things. I liken it to when you're in one military base and you're miserable, you hate it, and you say, oh, the next one's got to be better. The next one's got to be better. And mine was always worse everywhere I went.
Oh, no.
But the thing was, I was such a negative and angry and just bitter person throughout my entire career that I didn't even see the good moments at the time, so I went through a lot of sexual harassment. Everywhere I went, I was berated for being a female. And my struggle really was just I worked really hard to just try to earn the respect of my peers and my superiors. I didn't want to be seen as better or worse, or I was pretty awesome, if I say so myself. But I was never trying to prove anything other than the fact that I deserved to be there.
You could do the job is what you just, hey, yeah, I'm a female, but I can do the job.
Right, exactly. And
what was your specialty? What did you do?
I actually had 3 MOSs. I started off as a truck driver. I did that for 6 years.
Okay.
And when I got back from Iraq with my head attached to my shoulders, I was like, I might want to look at something else. So,
learn to type or something.
Yeah. So then I went into Intel, which probably wasn't the best job, but
Ooh.
I was an analyst for a few years, and then I ended up in counterintelligence is where I landed.
That would be a badass
that's cool.
job. I think I would love that.
I loved the job. I really did. It was a really awesome job.
I used to work around those intelligent guys for a while. They're crazy.
What's the they have? I mean, you got the aviation is like flyboys, and you got the grunts. What are they? What are they? Pointy heads, or what are they? What's the name for the intel community?
Idiots.
Idiots.
Yeah, that's the biggest oxymoron in the military is military intelligence.
Yeah, it was real. Like, it's one of those things. Like, the intel world, of course, everyone is very intelligent, but they have zero common sense. Generally, is a common rule, you know. But counterintelligence is a little bit different because you had to apply to get in, and you had to be E5 or above to get in. So, you know, we had guys that came over from combat arms and just all kinds of different backgrounds. So that was a little bit different. But as an analyst, it was really rough. Like, I had soldiers that would backtalk me because they're like, well, I have a college degree. And I'm like, well, I don't give a shit. Like, I outrank you. So you can take that over there, you know? So.
I always look at all these really cool MOSs, and I'm just like, oh, yeah. I was blessed. I got into aviation purely by accident. You know, I took the ASVAB, and they're like, hey, you can be an infantry soldier. You can be like a parachute packer, or you can be an avionics special equipment repairer. I'm like, what the hell's that? I'm like, oh yeah, you work on all the countermeasures on the helicopters. I'm like, well, that sounds pretty cool. And that's where I stayed for 9 years.
See, I'm jealous. I wanted to go into aviation so bad. Like, when I went from truck driver to intel, I was actually trying to be a medic because I really wanted to be a combat medic, which I know is like, really hard, but I was like determined to be on a Black Hawk and be a combat medic, but it wasn't in the cards for me.
Wow. Did you try, or it just didn't? Well,
when I went to re-enlist for it, they wouldn't give me the option because they were only allowing medics to be E4 and below. Oh. And I said, well, you know, I'll give up my stripes as I can earn them again.
There you
go. I want that job. And they're like, no, we really need NCOs. So they would not budge with me. I went to several different recruiting offices, and they wouldn't budge with me. So
what years did you serve?
I enlisted in 2000, but I wasn't supposed to leave for basic because I was in college. So I was supposed to leave for basic actually September 12th, 2001, and they got pushed back a couple of days, and then I got out in 2013. So.
Well, thank you very much for your service. It sounds like you've had quite a journey, I guess. I mean, you've hit everything. I mean, a college-educated person driving a truck, that seems strange to me because you'd have so many options, I guess.
Well, so I went to college, but I majored in socializing and drinking, so I didn't finish college. So.
Here are my receipts. I went to college. I didn't learn shit, but I went to college.
Right. It was a great year. But that was about as far as it went. So, I got into the military basically, and then I was one of those, fell right into the trap, got married to the first guy that looked at me, and it was miserable. I hated my life. And, of course, that was back in the day of door-to-door salesmen. They'd come and you just I don't have to pay you anything today. That sounds great. Oh, 22% interest? Sure, no problem. So, by the time I figured out that he was, I was in a really bad situation and separated, I got deployed right at the beginning of my separation.
Oh, that's so horrible.
He took everything, locked me out of the house, took everything. I had no access. I barely got any of my clothes, and ended up I came home and had a car repossessed in my name. None of our bills had been paid, and so
you're checking all the boxes here.
Yeah, I did. I made all the mistakes. So I was that NCO to my soldiers. I will kill you. Right. So I was respected in a way, but I wasn't liked very much, because I was listen, Listen, Joe,
Choke
I will
yourself.
hurt you.
Sergeant Day has a lot of experience.
Yeah.
She's done everything the wrong way, so she knows what the hell's up. So listen to her.
So you were salty before you made super rank at that point.
I got salty pretty early. So it was one of those, like, people see me coming and they would turn and go the other way, like, oh, here she comes. I'm like, yep. So,
Okay, I know absolutely nothing about an 88 mic. I'm guessing that is what your MOS was?
Mm-hmm.
What is, okay, after AIT, you get to a unit and you're hauling stuff from point A to point B and C and D and wherever else.
Correct. That's pretty much it. And I spent less time in the motor pool doing maintenance than when I changed my MOS. And
Everything's user maintenance, right?
Oh man, it's crazy. Like nothing was level 10 when I was a truck driver. So I switched over and I was like, wait, I gotta do what? So, but yeah, we pretty much just haul stuff around. My first, when Iraq and everything kicked off, I was at Fort Campbell in the rear, and so my job basically was like hauling stuff. Like I would take everybody's gear to the hangar and see them off, and they'd cuss me out because I was staying home. And then, I'd bring their gear back. Sometimes we would haul a lot of like long hauls to different states for National Guard and reservists and stuff like that. And then Iraq, it was just basically like we hauled mail around.
Mail, water, a lot of water.
Yeah, water. We did like some nuclear weapons sometimes, which was a little nerve-wracking. Just whatever had to be moved around, basically. So
we always appreciated mail, and we always appreciated the water deliveries, the pallets of water that we'd get.
Those were the two. Like if I ever had those on my truck, I felt like I was actually doing something purposeful.
Oh,
Other
that's
than that,
awesome.
I was kind of like, oh, but it was interesting.
Did you have any crazy experiences hauling whatever you were hauling in theater?
sorry?
Did you have any crazy experiences hauling stuff in theater?
I mean, so we had a really good show of force. We had
It's not just you with a flatbed and you're hauling stuff. I mean, you've got security.
Right.
You've got folks around you. You're not just alone.
No, we didn't have security. We never had security. I mean, we had like QRF assigned to us that would come out if we got hit.
Escorts. You have escorts?
They weren't with us. No.
Oh gosh.
No, we never had escorts.
So you
in
were
our-
alone.
Yeah, but
Oh,
we
no.
had. And our job too was we escorted the local nationals. So usually our convoys were like over 100 trucks deep. And,
Wow.
I mean, it was like ridiculous because we would have to roll really slow. We did hit like probably the worst experience was we got hit with 3 daisy chained 155 rounds. And, we lost a couple of the local nationals. They hit tanker trucks actually. So it's, big boom. And I got to watch QRF come out because, when you're a pogue, like you don't really get to do anything. So you just pulled
observed
security and waited for the rescue to come, but they came and cleared it. And then we just continued on our mission. So, but we usually would just get like shot at all the time. And you can't like, as a truck driver, we weren't allowed to really shoot back at them. Like we had to see them shooting at us. So we just had to like drive through it basically.
Oh my gosh. I mean, let's say that I was your spouse and I was stateside, or if I was your parents and you're just like, hey Leah, how are things going? And you're like, got shot at today. No biggie.
Well, I didn't call home a lot.
Yeah.
And I never told them what was going on.
I found it hard to talk to my family back in the States, because you're, get off work at the end of the day, get on the computer on Sniper Hill and just do some kind of a Skype conversation. And then, when an IED would show up, or they'd launch mortars over and they would, cut off communications. And then for like 3 or 4 days, my family's wondering, okay, is he still alive?
Right. Exactly. So and my mom, she worries big time anyway. So I just would like, I'd email her, be like, I'm good, I'm fine, everything's fine every few days or so. But I didn't have like regular contact with her because I didn't want her to get used to that and then not have it. So, but can I tell you like really what was worse for me in that
Please do. Yeah.
So, I work with the guys at Veteran Trash Talk and Nick because really, like, my entire military experience was all like constant harassment.
It was a struggle. It was a struggle, and I was going to get to that. How did you get in?
Yeah.
How did you get in touch with VTT?
So actually, I spent time in Korea with one of the guys on the VTC team, Perry, and I was watching him like talk about the podcast, and then I just responded to him on Instagram, and then he's like, "Hey, you need to talk to these guys." So I talked to them. They interviewed me a couple times, and I guess they like me because we're doing a kind of a spinoff for the females. So I'm excited about that.
I think that's great. I think it's great because I think being the parent of a former soldier who is, she's my daughter, she's my girl, so I was like always like right in making sure things were going the correct way, or at least in line with procedure and policy. Really over worried, because I'm not a helicopter dad, but I really was concerned for her well-being because of kind of the atmosphere or the environment for some females, not all females, but you had just a bad experience.
Yeah.
And that probably, I don't know, it left you with some bad feelings, maybe jaded towards military service for females.
For sure. I mean, I'm really just now, I've been out for 7 years, and I'm really just now getting to the point where I can embrace the fact that I was in. Like, I didn't like for people to know that I was in. Like, I didn't advertise it, I didn't talk about it because I just like I had bad experiences. I mean, if I was never the one to stand up for myself, but I got in trouble a few times for standing up for other people, being a loudmouth. But I never stood up for myself because I didn't want to be that guy, and I ended up having to, at the end of my career, because I was pregnant, my husband and I had changed MOSs together, and we were deploying him. So he was gone for 2 years. I had this baby, like, she didn't know men, and so she was afraid of men. I had no childcare. They put me in the admin room, and I'd be the only one there until like 2000. And then my commander's telling me that he's going to threaten to kick me out because I don't have childcare. And I'm like, put somebody else in here, because our unit was all counter intel. Like, that's all it is. And it was just one thing after another. And our platoon sergeant, my husband and I had the same platoon sergeant, like, was constantly trying to sleep with me while he's like deploying my husband, and acting like the baby is his baby. I mean, it was like crazy. So I had this nervous breakdown, and I was like, I can't deal with it anymore. And I reported him to my commander. And then, of course, I had like a black mark for the rest of my career. And he got high remarks, ended up being a warrant officer, was able to skirt a deployment. So he like never deployed. Like, it was bad. Like, that was the end of my deployment, or my time in the Army.
I'm grabbing my pants. I'm like, oh God, I'm just cringing here, man. This is horrible.
Everywhere that I went, and so like, at one point you have to think like, well, it's obviously me, right? Like, I'm the problem because it follows me. Because when I was in Iraq, I would hear, because you have your radio, and then we had a CB so that we could just talk to one another. And over the CB, like, my unit just decided, well, they don't like me, so they're like calling me a slut over the CB, like, while we're going, God, on our convoys, and like, oh, well, who'd you have sex with this time? Because it was like, I was a bartender for a while, and so I would see guys come in to our base. I'd be like, hey man, hey Bud Light bottle, like, I don't know his name, but like, hey man, how you doing? And it was never anything inappropriate, but it was like, oh, look who she's sleeping with this time. Oh, she's sleeping with this guy. And so our convoy was constantly like, oh yeah, you slut, like, you're sleeping with this guy, and and I'm like, dude, but it was just like, that was my career. It was like one thing after another, after another, after another. And in Korea, my command sergeant major, I was in a cav unit, and I always respected our combat arms guys, because they are going into the battle, right? And my command sergeant major was like this badass, And then I see him out in town with his driver. I was friends with his driver a little bit. And they're like, hey, you can ride with us on the way back. So I get in their car, and my sergeant manager's like, hey, who else are you giving chubbies to besides me and driver over
Oh,
here? And
jeez.
I'm like, what? You know, I mean, it just was, that was my career. And it ended up being like, you know, I developed a personality to be able to deal with it. So I would talk shit back or, you know, like handle it the best I could. But over time, like it compounded and affected me a lot more than I thought that it did, you know. But when I became a mom, I was married happily, like that's when it really, like the wall came crashing down, and I was like, I absolutely cannot do this anymore.
That is so mentally tasking. I can't even imagine.
It is. It's taken a long time to, you know, work on that. I decided when I got out of the Army 7 years ago that I needed to work on that. And I've been working on it for that long. And, you know, there are some things that I feel like I've kind of made peace with so that I'm not angry with anymore. And there's still things that I'm still angry about, you know, that I'm working on. But that's what this podcast is about, Veteran Trash Talk, Female Warrior Edition.
No. I think I'd carry that baggage with me proudly for the rest of my fucking life. I'd be pissed for a long time, and I would be taking some kind of revenge. But that doesn't
serve anybody.
It would feel so good. I'm not trying to talk you into taking up arms, but...
Yeah, no, it doesn't serve anybody because, you know, those people that I have those experiences with, you know, they don't care, you know, like the guy that raped me in Korea, I addressed it with him because he was a friend of mine, and he was like, you're crazy at it. That wasn't rape. That was consensual. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. So, like, they don't care. The people that wrong you don't care for them. Like, if they're not good people, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
they don't take ownership
for serve you to hang on to that and just stay pissed about it and be miserable. Like that's like, I want to help other people, females especially, through this podcast to be able to say, okay, yeah, that was messed up, should not have happened, but be able to forgive themselves, because most of the time we blame it on ourselves, and forgive the person that wronged them, not for that person, but for them, because you have to be able to forgive in order to start the healing process. Like
or you have to have some kind of
the life you want to without healing.
Or you'd have to have some kind of closure, and that's what I'm guessing is what the Female Warrior Edition is going to be about.
Hopefully, right? So the whole point that we want to bring on females that have been through not just sexual trauma and harassment, but really overcome some difficult things in the military and have at least started the healing process, so that, you know, our listeners can say, okay, you know, this is working for them. And I'm not saying like we're here to just kumbaya and heal everybody and all that sort of thing, but I think it's important to know, one, you're not alone, and you have resources, and you have a lot of people out there that have been through the same thing that you've been through. But, you know, you can choose for it to own you and stay miserable, or you can choose to start the healing process and move forward and enjoy your life from here on out, you know?
So it takes a lot of strength on your part and anybody's part for that matter to just realize that maybe there will be no justice for the offender, but you've got to move on and be all about yourself. You've got to heal yourself. You got to make your a conscious decision just to make yourself right and
Sure.
carry on, because no one's going to take care of you but you.
Right. And, you know, we have such a stigma. I mean, I don't know what it's like present day in the military, because I've been out for a while now, but, you know, we have such a stigma against mental health and against anybody really who speaks up for people who have been wronged. You know, I mean, there's so many stories, and a lot of it does come back to military sexual trauma. Others don't, but, you know, people feel like they're stuck and they don't have help, or they don't have somebody to talk to. That's why I'm super excited that NeuroFlow is partnering with us, you know, because they're working like with the Air Force and any other leaders in the military. Really need to reach out to them, because it gives service members away from their phone to start really kind of dialing into like, hey, I have this thing going on mentally. And that's something that a lot of people aren't willing to really talk about. They're scared, or maybe some leadership really still sucks and isn't going to give them, what they need. So this is for service, current service members as well, to know that, you're not alone. You got to make the decision. You do have to take care of you. And, there's definitely resources, and we're here for you.
And it's not like it's a systemic issue, but it's not like it's coming from the top down, because Command Sergeant Major Griston was just like, it is okay to go and seek help from mental health, because soldiers go and they look for financial help or marital counseling or all these other things. It should not be a stigma to go and ask for some mental counseling just for the good health of the soldier's brain. But that's not being repeated by local commands. So there's a break in the chain, in my opinion.
There definitely is. There's a break in the chain. And then, of course, you've got, your salty NCOs who've been around, and they're like they've been around since freaking Vietnam, and that's not the way things are done. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. Like, how many times have you heard, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and there are certain things like I believe in the United States military being the best force in the world, right? Like, we are warriors. We're here for combat, and we need to be combat ready. But part of that is making sure that we're there mentally. And leadership especially need to be able to understand when you've got somebody that is just like crying over spilled milk, or you got somebody that's got a legitimate issue. You know what I mean?
And there's got to be folks out there that just say, oh, I was sexually harassed, and then that's like a full stop, let's investigate. And if you do a full stop, let's investigate, for every accusation, you're taking assets out of the fight, because they're investigating all of these other things where it's just like, I am a shitbag, but I'm just going to say I was sexually harassed.
True, because I will tell you, I can't stand the females that have consensual sex and then for whatever reason end up changing their mind and accuse the guy that they were with because they just changed their mind, because they were married, or because they just feel bad later, or because it wasn't good, like whatever reason. I mean, when I was in Korea, I had a freaking E3 that started sending naked pictures to my first sergeant. I loved that first sergeant. He was amazing. And he was married. Wife wasn't in theater with him. But she started sending him naked pictures, started, texting him like all this naughty stuff. And I mean, he responded. And of course, like, the only reason she did that was to go somewhere else, like to get into the supply room or something stupid like that. So he put her in the supply room, and then she turned him in. Well, listen, I think that is wrong. That's 100% wrong. And I don't care that he responded and was interested, because if you put a piece of freaking raw meat in front of a lion, he's going to bite, And I'm not saying that men can't control themselves, but you have to understand, like, women, we have a certain amount of power just being women, and we don't need to abuse that. Being in the service is an honor. Wearing that uniform is an honor, and we need to treat it with respect, meaning we have to respect ourselves. And then when something does happen, we need to be able to report it and it be taken legitimately.
With confidence. In confidence. I mean, you have to. Leaders have to take these things seriously. And when they do their investigations and find some kind of wrongdoing, take action. Get these bad parts out of the machine.
But it's just like what you said, like, if it's not a legitimate accusation, then you've taken all these people out of the fight. Yeah. And that's where we have to take responsibility too. Like, we need to go back to the top 1%, being those people and demanding the best. Like, I was not liked because I demanded the best. Like, if I saw somebody not wearing a belt and sagging pants, I was like, what are you doing? Go get your uniform on. Like, put your hair up. Take that shit off your face. Like, whatever it was, I demanded the best. And I think, that makes it hard for females too, because it was hard to connect with other females because, of course, you're one of two things, right? Like you're a slut or a whore, or you're a slut or you're a bitch, right? Whore or bitch, whatever. You have those two choices in the military. And when you are a female and you are working really hard to make sure that that standard is set, then, you don't really trust other females because you're like, well, I got to figure out who you are. Are you a slut or are you a bitch? Which one are you? If you're a bitch, we can be friends. If you're a slut, then I hate you. I mean, it's an issue. But
I'm looking back at my service. My service was 88 to 96, and I can see that I did have some females. There wasn't a lot, but there were some, and there was all like, hey, there's a new female coming in, and everyone's just like, woo, big eyes, and they were always labeled as they're either prudes or they're whores.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
that's horrible. That's absolutely
Right.
horrible.
Well, it hasn't changed, or it hadn't by the time I got out. I don't know if it's changed since
Oh
since
my
then.
gosh, we've got Spanky willing to take up arms. She's willing to stab someone in the kidney, whoever needs it.
All right, well then we can be friends.
We can be
because-
friends.
But that's one of my pet peeves is you work like I was an E4 for 4 years and I was an E5 for 5 years because I did really well at the range. I did really well with PT. I was doing the extra stuff. Like I had everything on paper was set, and I would go to my supervisor and be like, hey, what do I need to do to go to the board? Like, I have all this stuff. Like, I have all my points. Like, what do I need to do to go to the board? And they'd say, oh, you know what you need to go to the board. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I was an E4 for 4 years and E5 for 5 years. But I would see these young girls come in not knowing what they were doing.
Or not what they're getting into.
Right.
Because if you're surrounded by this atmosphere and you have
an air defense, used to see that all the time. It was nuts.
But they come in and they're taken advantage of, right? But I came in at 18. Like, you have a choice. Do you come in and they're passing me up in rank? They don't know how to lead others. They don't know how to shoot a rifle. They can't pass their PT test. But somehow they're making rank.
Yep, they get fast tracked.
Right. So I'm not bitter.
Not at all. I couldn't tell.
But the problem lies on both ends, right? So part of my podcast too is like identifying that as well. Like, females have a responsibility and the males have a responsibility, and we have to work together to be a cohesive team and help one another, and just know like some things got to end and some things you just got to do better.
But it's just like the private workforce. When you get out of the military and you get into the private workforce, this kind of stuff is not it's not condoned at all.
Correct.
There's no two ways about it, because if someone is not feeling comfortable, it's just, I don't like the way that he said. HR is really, because corporations are really worried about being sued.
Right.
Because of someone's, either their sexual harassment or their untoward, whatever provocation that is. In the military, it's not so much. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to sue you, Commander, whatever, Captain whoever or Major whoever.
Right. Well, and then you have, so like when I went to AIT for the first time.
Which time? Okay, first time.
I've been there three different AITs. I love training. So, I was 19 or 20, whatever I was when I went to AIT. And one of our drill sergeants in AIT disappeared for a couple of weeks. And it was because he was watching us from outside, while we were showering, right? Some girls caught him and turned him in. So he was gone for a couple weeks. He comes back. He calls all the females into the day room. And he's like, listen up, privates. You thought you got rid of me. But see, I've been here longer and I know more than you do. So it doesn't matter what you say about me. I will always win. So you might as well keep your mouth shut.
I would like to say, I would love to say that your experience is the exception and not the rule.
I hope so.
Is that a fair thing to say?
I hope so. I really do, especially because, it was like I can give you instances of every place I've been of being harassed. So I hope that it's not the case. But when I see friends and stuff, like if their daughters join the Army, I mean, my heart just drops and I'm like, no, don't do that. Now I have a female cousin in the Air Force, and it's funny, we'll chat. She's in Europe right now and we'll chat on Facebook and we'll kind of swap stories. And I mean, she just is like appalled and can't even believe some of the stories. And she's like, that would never fly in the Air Force. I'm like, good. So any females that I know that want to join, I'm like, join the Air Force.
She's okay then.
Right. I mean, she loves her career. Like, she's enjoying it. She's had an issue with another female NCO, but she's never been harassed or anything like that. So, she's going to have a great career, I think. And that's awesome. And, I've talked to a couple gals already for my podcast that they haven't had like harassment issues or anything like that. It's just more of being a female in a man's world still. So you just work harder to prove yourself. So
there could be, I mean, cause our society now is very oversensitive. Where just a casual, hey, I'm interested in you. Cause we go to work, we interact with people, and you find someone that you of course, if you're single, you're like, hey, would you like to go and grab some coffee? But some folks now in this oversensitive society would say, oh my gosh, I'm being sexually harassed.
Right.
You gotta really be smart and just say, hey, this person is interested in me. Either I'm interested in them or not. And then either accept or not accept, and then leave that alone. It's not a harassment issue. It's just it's an interaction that you declined.
Absolutely. But it's all in the way that you ask, right? If you're interested, like if you grab somebody's butt and say, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" That's that's different than saying, "Hey, you want to go for some coffee?" So. But, and I mean, the thing is I feel like there's a lot of testosterone going, especially with having to go to combat. And I say that kind of loosely because not everybody is fighting the fight. Some people go over there and they do other great things like make sure all the supplies get around and make sure everybody gets paid. And all those things are very important still.
It's all legit. Yes.
Right. They're very important jobs. Everything is. But I feel like to a point, when you have so much testosterone and you're not really around females a lot or you're never taught how to speak to them. And then the combination of the females allowing that sort of thing. Yeah. I'm not saying it's one-sided. It's definitely not one-sided.
If you don't say anything, then it's going to continue. Behavior that is rewarded will be repeated. And by rewarded, if someone's, grabs your butt and says, hey, whatever, is this seat taken? If that's not confronted, then it's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, I had a on base mission one time where I had to go pick up some SF guys in a 5-ton and bring them. This was at Fort Campbell, and bring them from the back 40 all the way back to the rear. So it's a long, really long drive, 20 minutes or so. And these guys had just gotten home and they went out to the range to shoot a little bit. And so this guy while I'm driving, puts his hand down my blouse, the blouse of my jacket. Or
You're wearing BDUs, right? Or
yeah, like he puts his hand down there. And he's
ACUs.
like, "Is this okay?" And I said, "No, get your hand away." But like, I'm driving with a big steering wheel, right? So I can't like do a whole lot of batting him off. I'm just like, "Dude, take your hand back." And he's like, "Oh, you didn't like that?" I'm like, "No, I don't know you." You know, like, but it's-
I just started stabbing people, but this is me.
I mean, it perhaps, I don't know. Like, I really have done a lot of mental work. And I feel like we do, you know, you say, don't think about the color red, and that's all you're thinking about, right? So, as mad and angry and just like depressed and everything that I was during my career, I do think there's a point where like it was almost like I was calling more of it, because I was just like, this is always happening to me, you know. And I mean, I just would suck it up. Like, I didn't tell people about it. I was just like, I don't know. But I definitely got to that point where I was like, this is my fault. Like, I'm doing something to invite this sort of behavior, because it just keeps happening. And I don't look back at that and like, I don't blame myself for things happening, but I do take responsibility for not getting in the right headspace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just posted, why did the SF dude in the jump seat get stabbed? What? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like that when I found him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my hope is that, you know, maybe we run out of females to talk to, because this isn't as common as I think, you know. But the point of our podcast is to give them a platform to come and talk, but also be a beacon of hope for those that are going through it. Because I feel like the majority of the females that have legitimate claims, they either don't come forward, or there's some that come forward and they get blown off and told to suck it up. And then they just don't ever deal with it.
You know, it's kind of crazy, but females aren't the only people that are sexually harassed in the military. There are cases of men that have been sexually harassed. There was a video that was posted, and it was an interview by a news station for a guy who was sexually harassed. I did not watch it. It came up like right before our show tonight, and I'm very interested in watching it, and I will do so. So I mean, I know women aren't the only ones. Are men available to talk to you during your podcast?
Most definitely. And you know what? Also, I'm also seeking out men who've been wrongfully accused, like what we kind of mentioned earlier.
Oh,
So
that's an interesting take. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to tell their story too, because I think that's very important to tell the whole story and not just one side. But yeah, I mean, so in Korea, when I was there, they briefed us. I mean, it was bananas. Like, they would, you know, you had a week of like regular in processing, and then if you were an NCO or an officer, you had to come back for another week of leadership training. And everything was like, oh, by the way, you're probably going to get raped while you're here. Oh, hey, I'm so-and-so from finance. And, oh, by the way, you're probably going to get raped while you're here.
And that was going to be like a byline. Like, oh, by the way, look forward to being raped.
Like, what? Why is this a thing? And they're like, oh, it's the soju. I'm like, that's bull. Like, I don't do alcohol. Like, what is the problem? But sure enough, like, I mean, I got raped there legitimately. Like, they're like, oh, it's between this month and this month it usually happens. It's usually somebody that's very close to you. It's a friend that you trust. And I was like, what? Like, that'll never happen to me. And it did happen exactly like that. But the numbers that they gave us there were 4 reported rapes up where I was in Korea every weekend. 4 reported rapes.
Were you at Casey?
Yes. I was at Hovey, actually.
Okay.
Hovey. So 4 reported rapes every weekend. They have no idea how many go unreported. Mine was unreported. 1 out of every 4 was male on male.
Wow.
1 out of every 4. Now, I read a statistic earlier. I can't remember where this came from, that said like for military wide, it's like 1 out of 100 is male on male, or that males are assaulted.
That's a crazy statistic, and you were absolutely right. And those are the ones that were reported.
Yes. So, you know, there's no telling how many go unreported. I didn't report mine, and I felt like such an idiot because I was that girl that was like, I'm too tough for that to happen. Like, that only happens to stupid girls who can't fight back, or they get themselves in a really stupid situation. Well, you know, when that happened to me, I was like, well, I'm an idiot. So, I mean, I didn't report it, but I especially didn't report it because it was a warrant officer, and I knew he would be protected, like where we were. I absolutely knew he would be protected, and I wouldn't, and that would be like I would have that black mark on my name. And I mean, maybe that isn't what would have happened. I don't know, but in my mind, that's why I stayed quiet. And then, of course, you know, I talked to him because he was a friend of mine. Like, dude. But, you know, I mean, before that happened, he had me up against the wall by my throat, like, not the same day. And I went back, like, still hung out with him. So I'm like, well, yeah, I'm an idiot. Like, why did I put myself in that situation?
I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that. Just indifferent, you know, just, wow. I've got no words. I don't know how I would deal with that. If that was ever presented to me, how would I handle it? Mm-hmm. I mean, I did have a Katusa grab my crotch, but I put that to rest like right quick. He liked my jeans and he was rubbing on my leg, and I'm like, hold on.
Oh, wow.
It was done.
Wow. Did you report him?
No, I grabbed his fucking hand. He got the fucking message.
Yeah.
And it never happened again. But yeah, I mean,
an officer asked me to marry him, and I was like, that's okay.
So your podcast launches on Sunday, pre-Super Bowl.
Yes, 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Your East Coast.
2 p.m. Eastern. Yes, sorry.
On Veteran Trash Talk, you can catch them at Veteran.
You can catch on. We'll be on Facebook. You can catch us on YouTube. So if Super Bowl partying is just way too much fun, come back and watch the replay.
I did see the post on YouTube, and I liked it. So I really hope you are successful with this. We can probably throw some people your way as far as guests or, you know, just folks to talk to.
Absolutely. Send them my way. Happy to talk to everybody. And if they want to come on the show, we can chat about that. And if they just want to, you know, me to tell their story or however I can help them. I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but any way that I can help and be an ear, I am here. And then also, you know, our leadership in the military, currently in the military, needs to check out NeuroFlow and try to get them on board for their service members. What
is your vision for Female Warrior Edition? Is that the title of your podcast?
Yes, Veteran Trash Talk Female Warrior Edition. So my vision is just to be able to tell people stories and to share ways that they've been seeking help, ways that they have maybe helped themselves to really be able to live a fulfilled life. I feel like, you know, veterans in general, we get out of the military and there are so many resources, but not all of them are great resources, or maybe we don't have a good education about those resources. And, you know, or we have that tough guy mentality where we feel like, you know, it's not going to help us, or we don't need them or whatever. And so we don't seek them out. And, you know, a lot of people just suffer in silence. You know, we have so many homeless vets, and we have all these veterans that are committing suicide, which is the whole point of Veteran Trash Talk when they started, to, you know, really bring light to that and help stop soldier suicide and just bring forth a community. So that's what we're doing over here at Female Warrior Edition, is trying to build that community. So, you know, one, you're not alone, and two, you know, something bad may have happened, but you're not a victim. You're still a warrior, and you can get through it, and you don't have to do it by yourself. But we also promote female veteran entrepreneurs over there. So it's not always going to be bad stories. We're going to be promoting entrepreneurs and business owners so that we can help them get some more business as well.
So you're, I mean, you got out and you're doing, you got to pay the bills. What do you do in the private sector?
I'm an entrepreneur, actually. So
well, there you
I'm
go.
partnered with a wellness company, and I help service members really with joint issues and joint pain and
back pain. Do you do back pain?
Absolutely. So I have arthritis and degenerative disc disease in my neck, back, and knee, and that's what got me started on that road. Yeah.
You know, I've always known that there's a bunch of badasses in the military. I mean, you got your SF crew that are just, you know, kicking doors down and just fucking stuff up, and they're just badasses, and they have their path in the military, and they're just awesome. But I also think that females in the military have this extra hurdle to jump, if not 10 extra hurdles to jump, to be successful as soldiers in the military. It doesn't matter whether you're an enlisted person or an officer. That, you know, they have these extra things to do to prove themselves and to set themselves apart from their peers to be successful. And it's just, there's so much respect, I mean, for everybody who's in the military. But there's these extra steps that females need to take to, like I said, prove themselves and stuff. And that shouldn't have to happen. That shouldn't have to happen. And,
that shouldn't have to happen. But, you know, as long as, you know, all the females that I have become friends with from military, there are few, it's few and far between, because when you do earn that respect, you know, it feels really good. I mean, it's just like,
whether you realize it or not, you mentored a lot of female soldiers.
Right. But the majority of them fell, you know, and it really, when I was in, I cared for them deeply. Like, I mean, I was harder on females than I was on males myself because of that. Like, we have to prove ourselves. And so you can't cry over a stubbed toe. You know, I mean, I had a female, I don't know if you probably don't want to hear this story, but
we do. Trust me.
It's pretty gross. So I got to California at Fort Irwin, and we ran, there's a water tower, and it's, if you run out and back, it's 2 miles. So we would do that run fairly often. And it was one of my first runs. And of course I'd come from Korea. So, you know, we run like 5 million times a week out there. And, so we were on a run, and I see this female has fallen out, and I go and I pick her up, and I'm like, "What's up?" And she's, "Oh, Sergeant, I just can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I think I started my period." And I'm like, "Well," I look down at her legs, and I'm like, "I don't see anything. The faster you run, the faster we'll be done. So let's go." And she just looked at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "Let's go. We got 2 miles. Like, we're like on a quarter mile. Let's do it."
You know what I like? I heard a saying, and I forget where I heard this from, is you have this mission that goes from point A to point B. The only thing you have to do is go halfway and then one more step, and then you're closer to the end.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, I mean, it turned out she used that as an excuse. You know, it wasn't true, but she was trying to get out of a run. And it was stuff like that. Like, I was like, I will not accept this. Like, you know, we are in the military. My job is to get you combat ready.
Suck it up and drive on, right?
Right. You know, and I mean, there's kind of a fine line, right? Like, it's taken me a long time to really come forward and start talking about this stuff, because it's like, oh, I don't want to seem like a hypocrite. But there's a line. Like, you have to be tough. You have to be mentally tough and physically tough. But then when wrong is wrong, you have to be able to be tough enough to say so.
Stand up for yourself.
Right.
And it really sucks, because a lot of these, most people, like most service members, come in around, you know, pre-20. They're younger than 20 years old. So they have very little life experience. So they just kind of like come in and go, oh, I guess this is just the way things are. And they try to suck it up and drive on based on this is just the way things are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, some do. I mean, I had Intel, again, is a different world, though, right? So I had Intel soldiers that were coming in at 18, 19, 20, and they were just like, well, I don't accept this. And I'm like, well, I don't care if you accept this. Like, this is the Army. This is what it is. So you can get out after your first enlistment, but you got to do this, you know? So I definitely think it depends on, it depends on their background, where they come from. But, you know, our culture, too, outside of the military is so everybody wins, everybody gets a medal. And so if they're raised like that and then they come into the military and we're like, oh, no, you don't get a medal. Like, even if you earned a medal, you might not get it.
But
your officer might get one, you know?
The officers always do. And I'm fine with that. You know, they got to feel good. But, you know, I'm sure, you know, you've had your source of your fair share of victims, but there's a lot of, you know, strong women, joining the military and just doing their thing and not giving a fuck, and just someone grabs your butt and then all of a sudden their fingers are broken.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, you know, I can think of a good handful of women that I freaking love because they are like that. And, you know, that's what I did to get through stuff. And then when I got out, I was like, oh shit, that was really bad. What happened? What went down there? And maybe it affects me a little bit differently than it does some others. But like, just talking to you now, like, I can think of a good handful of women that, I mean, they kicked ass on everything. And I was like, I love you. You know, I mean, those were my homies.
Yes.
So because we didn't take any excuses and we're like, whatever, okay, well, you can go over there and be weak, we'll be fine.
So Spanky, I know you're listening, I know you're still here. I would like for you to get our good friend Leah in touch with Minx, because I think they would become very good friends.
Oh, absolutely, I can do that.
Yes,
I'm making a note.
Yes, please make that note, and maybe we can have Leah, I would love to have you back, because I'm sure there's a dozen questions that I didn't think of that I should have asked. And I would love to have you back on. So tell me about your podcast. It launches on Sunday?
Launches on Sunday, Veteran Trash Talk Female Warrior Edition, 2 p.m. Sunday.
2 p.m. Sunday. You can catch it on Facebook and YouTube.
30 minutes. You can catch it on Facebook, YouTube. You can follow Veteran Trash Talk on Instagram as well. Anywhere you find the Veteran Trash Talk boys, I am there with them. So we're all one big happy family over there.
So you do any admin work with VTT, or?
No, they got all of it covered. They gave me the easy part. So
all you got to do is like show up and do a show. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. The boys have everything under control. Oh.
Awesome. Leah, thank you. Love you. All the best for you, man. I mean, you're kicking that ass, and you're going to make a difference. And I really hope that that female soldiers, as well as anybody else, any soldier who has had experiences, can tune you in and talk to you.
Most definitely.
Are you accessible? I mean, you got a.
Yeah, you can find me. I'm under my name, and the picture's the same on every social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Oh, with the crazy hair thing?
Yep,
crazy. You're like fluffing your hair, yeah.
Yep, that's me. I make it easy to find. So,
Leah, we appreciate you. We appreciate Veterans Trash Talk for getting us in touch. And wow. I really want to talk to you again, because I think you're doing great stuff.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate you, and I appreciate you putting me out here and speaking with your audience and on this platform. It's such an honor, and I'll come back anytime.
That's really great to hear. Thank you very much again for being here. So where's my paper? We got some housekeeping to do. We got a bunch of guests coming up. I'm going to give you a couple of them. Not that page, not this page. It's the last two. Jesus. Really ought to organize my stuff. I do the analog stuff. I'm analog paper. I've got to print everything off. Yeah, there you go, Pookie. Pookie's showing me his papers too.
Yeah, I write everything. You say print, I actually write.
You write? Oh wow. So I want to thank Leah Day for being here from Veterans Trash Talk. She has a podcast coming up, which is going to air on Sunday. Facebook, Veterans Trash Talk, YouTube, Veterans Trash Talk, Instagram, all that other good stuff. Check her out. This is going to be good. This is really, really good.
Better check it out because I said so.
So on 11 February, which is Thursday, Colonel Jonathan Chung is going to be on the show. Who is Colonel Chung? Commander of the 2nd Stryker Brigade Combat Team, 2nd Infantry Division. The Lancer Brigade Combat Team is prepared to go to war and win. Their leaders and soldiers thrive in conditions of uncertainty and stress, and they have the physical and mental toughness to overcome every obstacle. We live the warrior ethos. We develop and grow adaptive leaders, of which we are empowered to use their initiative, take prudent risks. Should I cross that river? I don't know. Would it be prudent?
I don't know. This sounds like a PO or just.
It really does. And exploit opportunities to accomplish the mission. Colonel Chung is coming on to tell us about their unit and their new podcast, The Leadership Experience.
Ooh. There's an Army unit coming out with his own podcast.
I really like the fact that commanders of units are
adopting social media.
Social media is a really great tool. So I'm really glad that they're coming out. Is this a coming out party? 8 February, which is Monday. These are out of order. Brett Cotright and Jason Klepak from War Horses for Veterans are going to be on the show. Brett and Jason will be on the Monday edition to talk about War Horses for Veterans and how they expand their help to first responders. And this is new.
Oh, that's awesome.
When we went to War Horses for Veterans as a station, WTF Nation Radio, it was basically just an equine
just
therapy.
Combat vets.
Yeah, it was just combat vets. But now they've expanded their stuff to first responders.
That's awesome.
So Brett has spent 13 years in law enforcement. He has specialties in crash reconstruction and was assigned as a rescue diver for the SWAT team. Brent spent 6 years as a motorcycle enforcement officer and a heavy vehicle inspector. Brett has been involved with War Horses for Veterans since 2019 and is now the director of development in the organization. Brett builds lasting relationships with businesses and donors who are involved with War Horses for Veterans. Great organization. Jason, the other half of that interview, is a U.S. Army veteran who served 17 years in law enforcement and is now retired. He and his wife Shannon have been married for 21 years and have 3 daughters. Horses have been a part of their lives since childhood, and they're looking forward to telling all the good things that are coming in the following years. So that is what I've got. Thank you, Leah. You are awesome. And we are going to talk again, and hopefully soon. So thanks for joining us tonight. This is the end of our show. And I'm just going to play these little outros. Pookie, do you have a... I was gonna say something about the
stupid stuff. Don't do stupid stuff. You know, that's all I gotta say to y'all. It's Friday. Don't do anything stupid.
Don't do anything dumb. No dumbness here. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining, and take care. Shots.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
Wear a condom. We're in Fayetteville. No one gets STDs here.
The voice of U.S. Army Radio. WTF Nation Radio.